Well, let's talk about a little bit of what you look for, speaking of talent, and booking talent, especially tribute bands. You've had a lot of great ones that I've been to see too. Some of my favorites have been there. Shout out to Foo Fight and to the Poppers and to After Image. I'm a huge fan of all of them. Other prior episodes, I've interviewed some of those musicians. So as you're thinking about booking other tribute bands, who are you looking for, and what are you looking for?
Well, the concept of Crazy Uncle Mike's originally is different than what it is today because the customer told me what they wanted. I started off booking what I wanted to feed the customer. And it wasn't too long before the customer told me what they wanted to eat or hear. And so originally I wanted more original music. I wanted younger artists. I wanted up and coming. I wanted to be a ground for a lot of things that didn't financially make sense once we opened, right? Because to try to get the room filled for an original band, unless they've really done something special, is a much more difficult thing to fill than filling a room for somebody that's playing Ozzy Osbourne or Judas Priest or Van Halen or the Allman Brothers or the Grateful Dead or these other bands that people love, right? And they love to reconsume what they know, and they like to sing along. And so I didn't understand the popularity of the demographic in Boca and Delray and Pompano and all the surrounding areas, how they like to consume what they know. And so I speckle in now my special artists like Eric McFadden. That's an incredible blues rock guy, all original. He does Sergeant Pepper with Sergeant Splendor with his girlfriend Kate, or he does the Eric McFadden trio as his own. But I can only speckle in that kind of incredible freaking music that I want to turn people on to, because the viability of it financially isn't the same as putting on a Studio 54 band that people know what to expect, and they're wanting that to go out on a date with their wife, or they want to be able to have that experience to go dancing. So when I'm looking at my calendar, for the first 4 years I did the calendar alone, and the last 3.5 years or 2.5 years I've been doing it. So maybe 5 years and 2.5 years I've been doing it with Beth Rudolph, and she is a blues focused human. So I have some really incredible blues shows because of the connections that she has. That's how I got Eric Gales last week. That's how I get Anthony Gomes. That's how I get all of these great blues guys, right? So that's part of it is having her on my team, and then also part of it is being diverse, right? I don't want to be the same thing every day, because if I have the similar ticket on Friday as I do Saturday, the customer's thinner, right? So if I have a tribute on one night, I want something completely different on the next night. And if it's another tribute, it better be a different generation and different genre, and then we can do that. So there's the reality of programming the calendar is you have ideas of what you want, and then you have what's available and what's being offered to you, and then you try to match those things the best you can, because you're not always going to get the opportunity to have exactly what you want on a Saturday night followed by something else, right? So, but when you find yourself a couple, 3 months out and you've got some holes next to it, then you start, okay, what would go good there? Okay, call these 3 bands, see if they're available. Because you want that diversity and a customer to be a different guy on Friday night than Saturday night. And my Wednesdays and Thursdays and Sundays, I try to put all my big bands there. I try to put my nationals there, because they're not going to help my weekend. Southern Blood, Havoc 305. These guys sell out the room on a weekend night, no problem. They're really easier to deal with on a duration. We're busy on weekends, so it's less onerous on the staff and everything else. But when these nationals come in, they want to set up early. They want to take over your room half the day. It's a lot bigger production, and so I'm putting those on the days that I wouldn't normally have as good a business, so that way I can lift those days and still have my strong weekends, and find a way to get to the end of the year where we have a little cheat.